I never thought a story like this would come out of my mouth. Honestly, even as I sit here trying to breathe normally, my hands still shake a little. Maybe it's nerves, maybe it's disbelief, or maybe it's just the aftertaste of everything I went through. Sometimes I replay the moment in my head, me standing in the middle of the living room, holding that old phone like it was a bomb ready to explode. If I'm being completely honest, I've always had this habit of attaching meaning to objects. A photo, a song, a smell. They all take me back to certain moments. But nothing, absolutely nothing, prepared me for what an outdated black smartphone covered in dust would do to my life. My name is Laysla, and before I dive into the mess, I want to say something personal, something I've never shared with anyone outside my closest friends. I've always had this weird intuition. I don't call it a gift because it usually shows up right before something bad happens. I'll feel a weight in my chest, a whisper of doubt, a tug in my gut. Most of the time I ignore it. I tell myself I'm being dramatic, too emotional, too me, and every time I convince myself of that, I end up regretting it later. Looking back, maybe I should have listened the day everything started, because my intuition was screaming long before I ever touched that phone. I've been with Daniel for almost 3 years. Or well, I thought I had been with Daniel. Sometimes I ask myself if the man who slept beside me every night, who cooked dinner while humming off-key, who kissed me on the forehead before leaving for work, if that man ever existed at all, or if he was just a shadow shaped by lies I never even questioned. It's strange how love makes you blind. I used to make jokes about being too trusting, but it never felt like a flaw, until it became the very thing that broke me. When I met him, he was the calmest presence I had seen in a long time. Daniel had that soft smile that made you exhale without realizing you've been holding your breath. He was attentive, sweet in ways that felt effortless. Not the exaggerated stuff people do when they're trying to impress someone. No, he was subtle, gentle. He'd remember things like how I hated cold floors in the morning, and would leave his slippers at the side of the bed in case I wanted to use them. Or how I liked eating fruit with salt, which he always said was weird but still served it to me without complaint. Those tiny things build trust. They build a story, a version of someone that feels real enough to hold on to. But today, if you asked me to describe him, I wouldn't know where to start. Because the Daniel I loved and the Daniel I discovered through that old phone, they weren't the same person. Not even close. It all started on a rainy afternoon. Those days when the sky looks like it's carrying everyone's sadness at once. I remember the smell of wet earth coming through the open window, the faint sound of cars splashing water on the street. Daniel wasn't home. He had told me he'd be working late. I wasn't suspicious, not at first. I was actually cleaning our wardrobe because I wanted to donate some old clothes. Organizing things always helped clear my head. I think that's why I opened that top shelf at all, the one where we stuffed things we rarely used. And there it was. A black phone, thick, heavier than the smartphones we use now. It was inside an old shoebox Daniel had once said contained photos from his childhood. He'd always been oddly protective about that box, moving it whenever I reorganized the bedroom, making sure it was always tucked away. I never pried. I thought everyone had things from the past they didn't want to share. Childhood memories could be painful, and I didn't want to force him into anything. But the phone was there. No charger, just the phone, covered in dust like it had been forgotten for years. I remember picking it up and wiping the screen with the sleeve of my sweater, laughing softly to myself. I even whispered, "What are you hiding, Daniel?" in that playful tone I used when I was teasing him. If I had known the answer, I wouldn't have touched it. I swear I wouldn't have had the strength. But here's the thing. I'm curious. Always have been. It's a trait people around me love and hate. I overthink, I overanalyze, I overfeel. And when something crosses my path, especially something out of place, I can't ignore it. Not because I want to snoop or invade anyone's privacy, but because my mind instantly fills with 1,000 questions and I can't stop them. Curiosity has always been my weakness. At first, I just held the phone, turning it in my hand. It felt cold, like it hadn't been touched in a long time. The weird thing, it wasn't completely dead. When I pressed the side button, a faint battery icon flashed before disappearing again. It was enough to spark something inside me. He didn't throw it away. He didn't break it. He didn't reset it. He kept it hidden. And that tiny detail already felt wrong. I looked for a charger around the house but couldn't find one that fit. The phone was old, the kind of model they don't even sell anymore. I could have let it go right there. A normal person probably would have. But my mind kept whispering, why would he keep something like this? What's inside that can't be thrown out? So I did something I still can't fully justify. I walked to the box of random old electronics we kept in the laundry room. Don't ask me why we never threw that stuff out. Maybe we both had trouble letting go of unnecessary things. But buried under old cables and headphones that didn't work anymore, there it was, the charger. Thick, outdated, yellowing at the edges. My heart was already beating faster when I plugged it in. I remember sitting on the edge of the bed, staring at the black screen waiting. Didn't turn on right away. It needed time. So I sat there hugging my knees, listening to the rain and thinking of all the logical explanations. Old photos, contacts, messages from years ago, memories he didn't want to erase. That's what I told myself. That's what any reasonable girlfriend would think. But my chest felt tight. That intuition, that awful, suffocating intuition, had returned. When the screen finally lit up, I felt something shift inside me. The wallpaper was the first punch. It wasn't a landscape or some random default image. It was a picture of a woman I didn't know. She had long brown hair, soft eyes, a smile that was familiar somehow. Warm. I stared at her for a long time, trying to place her face, but nothing came. And yet there was something about the way she looked at the camera that made my stomach turn. I pressed the home button. No password. That was the second punch. Daniel, the same man who used a 6-digit code, Face ID, and an unlock pattern on his current phone, had an old one without any protection. But why leave it open? Why hide the phone but not the content? I swallowed hard and opened the gallery. First it was innocent. Pictures of him younger, looking almost exactly the same but with slightly different hair. Pictures of his old apartment. Some friends I recognized from stories he had told me. Then I saw her again. The brown-haired woman. Smiling beside him. Hugging him. Kissing his cheek. Sitting on the hood of his old car. Behind a birthday cake. On a beach. In front of a Christmas tree. And in one photo, she was lying on his chest, asleep, while he took a selfie with a smile that looked real. Soft. Loving. A smile I had never seen directed at me. My throat closed. I scrolled further. More photos. More moments. A whole life I wasn't part of. I clicked on the videos folder. There were several. My hands were sweating. I hesitated. I genuinely thought about putting the phone back, pretending I had never seen it. Pretending ignorance. Pretending safety. But I didn't. I clicked on the first video. It was shaky, recorded in a dimly lit room. Daniel's voice came first, lighter, happier. He sounded different. Younger. The camera flipped, revealing the same woman again, sitting on a bed, laughing. She called him babe. He called her Lisa. The name echoed in my head. Lisa. Who was she? Ex-girlfriend? Ex-fiancée? Ex-wife? Why had he never mentioned her? I opened the next video. And the next. And the next. I watched pieces of a relationship I had never heard about, one that looked deep and serious. A relationship that didn't appear temporary or casual. It didn't look like something people erase from memory. It looked like love. But it wasn't until the fourth video that everything inside me collapsed. It started normally. Lisa holding the phone, teasing Daniel about something. He tries to grab the phone. She pushes him away while laughing. The picture shakes and the camera angle changes. Suddenly, they're sitting side by side. The atmosphere shifts. She looks nervous. The lighting is darker. Daniel says something I didn't fully catch. Then Lisa whispers, "We can't keep this from her forever." My heart stopped. Daniel replies, voice low, almost harsh. "She doesn't need to know." "Not yet." Lisa bites her lip, clearly uncomfortable. "It's not right, Daniel. She deserves to know." And then Daniel says a name. My name. He says my name. Not Laysla. Not someone else who coincidentally shares my name. No. His voice says, "Laysla can't find out. She wouldn't understand." My vision blurred. I replayed that moment 5 times. Maybe 10. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. Why would my name appear in a video recorded years before I met Daniel? What were they talking about? What secret was I unknowingly part of? I felt dizzy. I set the phone down, stood up, paced around the room, then sat back down again. My head was spinning. Had I misheard it? Was it a different name that just sounded like mine? Couldn't be me. It made no sense. My heart kept pounding so hard it hurt. I went back to the phone. There was one more video. One final video filmed years before I ever stepped into Daniel's life. A video I wish I had never opened. I clicked on it with trembling fingers, my breath stuck in my throat. The screen turned black for a moment. And then a voice, Daniel's voice, spoke quietly, urgently. A woman sobbed in the background. And slowly the camera lifted. A shadowed room. A figure sitting on the floor. The video zoomed in. The lighting improved. And the voice that came next, the voice at the end of that video, was mine. I froze. For a second, I didn't even understand what I was hearing. My own voice? On a video recorded years before I ever met Daniel? My breath caught in my chest like someone had grabbed my lungs and squeezed. I leaned closer to the screen, my heart punching against my ribs as the sound repeated softly, like an echo of something impossible. It wasn't a full sentence. It wasn't even clear. It was just my voice saying a single word, one tiny devastating syllable. Please. The way I said it, it didn't sound like me now. It sounded younger, softer, scared. I pressed my hand to my mouth, my mind spinning so fast I could barely think. That couldn't be me. Just couldn't. I would have remembered something like that. A voice doesn't just appear out of nowhere. A memory doesn't just disappear. People don't just forget themselves. But the voice was mine. I couldn't breathe. I felt my chest tightening with every passing second. My thoughts tangled into a suffocating knot, and tears burned the back of my eyes. Not because I was crying, but because I was terrified. I kept staring at the screen, replaying that tiny piece over and over, hoping maybe I was imagining it. But every time it felt clearer. It was me, but younger, and scared. I pulled the phone closer, my fingers trembling, and hit restart on the video. I needed context. I needed something, anything that would make this make sense. The image flickered again. Daniel's voice murmured something urgent. The woman sobbed. A chair fell in the background. It looked like chaos, like something had gone terribly wrong. Then the camera moved toward the corner of the room, toward the shadowed figure on the floor, toward the girl whose voice had sounded like mine. My stomach churned so violently I thought I would throw up. The figure lifted her head slowly, and for a split second, just a split second, I swore I saw my own eyes staring back at me. The lighting wasn't clear. The frame wasn't steady. But something in her expression, something in the way she held herself, something in the curve of her jaw, everything inside me collapsed at once. Who are you? I whispered at the screen, but it felt like I was asking myself. I paused the video. The silence in the room was deafening. The rain outside had stopped. The whole world seemed to freeze around me. I could hear my heartbeat in my ears, loud and frantic, like it was trying to escape my body. Why? I whispered again. Why is my voice in this phone? I needed answers. I needed them now. And there was only one person who could give them to me. Daniel. My mind exploded with questions. Did he film me? Did he know me before I knew him? Had he been following me? Watching me? Was this some twisted joke? A coincidence? Or something darker? Every scenario felt worse than the last. I stood up so fast the bed creaked. My legs felt unsteady beneath me, like I had to relearn how to walk, but I didn't care. I grabbed my jacket, shoved the phone into my pocket, and headed for the door. I didn't even remember locking the house behind me. I barely remembered the drive. My hands shook on the steering wheel. My breaths were uneven and shallow. My mind kept replaying that moment, my voice saying please, like I was begging for something. Something I couldn't remember. I don't know how long it took me to reach Daniel's workplace. It felt like hours and seconds at the same time. I parked crookedly, not caring, and ran inside. The receptionist tried to stop me, but I barely heard her. My feet carried me to his office door like I was possessed. I didn't knock. I burst in. Daniel was sitting at his desk, typing something, and when he saw me, his face lit up with that familiar soft smile. The smile that used to calm me. The smile that had felt like home. But now it looked wrong. Forced. Manipulative. He stood up quickly. Lays? Hey, what's wrong? You look pale. I stared at him, unable to speak at first. My throat was tight, my mind still spinning. I reached into my pocket and pulled out the old phone. His expression changed instantly, like someone had ripped the mask off his face. The shock, the fear, the way his eyes widened like he had seen a ghost. "Where did you find that?" His voice cracked. I didn't answer. I held it up in front of me like a weapon. "You kept this hidden," I finally said, my voice trembling. "Why?" "Laysla." He took a step toward me. I took a step back. No, don't come closer." My voice broke on the last word. "Just tell me the truth." He swallowed, his jaw tightening. "It's complicated." "Then uncomplicate it." He shut his eyes for a moment, long enough that I felt my panic spike. When he opened them again, he looked broken. I hated that the sight still stirred something in me. Even after everything, a part of me wanted to believe him. But I couldn't, not now. "You watched the videos?" he whispered, not even asking, just knowing. "Yes," I said, my voice shaking. "And I heard her say my name. Years before I met you. And I heard my voice." "My voice, Daniel. Explain that. Explain how that's possible." He sat down slowly, covering his face with his hands. For a moment I thought he wouldn't speak. Then he exhaled shakily, like someone preparing to confess something unforgivable. "I didn't want you to find out like this," he said. "Find out what?" The words hovered in the air, unspoken but heavy. Finally he looked up at me, his eyes glassy. "Her name wasn't Lisa." My heart stalled. I blinked. "What?" He stood up again, hesitating like he was afraid of breaking me. "Her real name was Alina." The name hit me like a blow to the chest, not because I recognized it, but because of the way he said it. With grief. With guilt. With something darker. "Who is she?" I asked, my voice so thin it barely came out. He hesitated. Then he whispered, "She was your sister." The room spun. I felt the ground shift beneath my feet. I grabbed the edge of the desk to steady myself, gasping like someone had punched the air out of my lungs. "No," my voice cracked. "No, that's impossible. I don't have a sister." Daniel swallowed hard. "You did." Pain tore through me, a deep, unfamiliar ache. My chest burned, my thoughts scattered like broken glass. I shook my head violently. "You're lying," I spat. "You're lying. I would know if I had a sister." He stepped closer, tears forming in his eyes. "Your family never told you. They erased her. After what happened to her, What happened?" I screamed. He flinched. His voice lowered to almost a whisper. "She went missing. And nobody ever found her." The silence after those words was unbearable. Thick. Suffocating. My mind couldn't wrap around it. A sister? A missing sister? A family secret buried so deep I had no memory of it? How do you know her?" My voice trembled uncontrollably. "Why do you have videos of her? Why is my voice on that phone? Daniel, what the hell did you do?" He dragged a hand through his hair, pacing behind his desk, panic rising in him. "I knew her before I met you. We were close." I froze. "Close?" I repeated. "Like dating." He nodded slowly. My stomach dropped. "So you were with my sister before you were with me?" My voice was hollow. "And you just never told me." "It wasn't like that," he said desperately. "When I met you, I didn't know. You both looked so different, and she had gone missing by then, and I—" "Stop." I held up a hand. "Do not put this on coincidentia. Tell me why my voice is in that phone." He closed his eyes. And at that moment, I knew the worst part wasn't what he had already told me. It was what he hadn't. He walked to a drawer, unlocked it with a key I had never seen before, and took out a thin manila folder. He placed it gently on the desk, as if afraid it would break. "Before she disappeared," he said softly, "Alina was investigating something about your family. Something dangerous. She recorded everything. Every conversation. Every threat. Every clue." I stared at him, numb. "And one day," he continued, voice tight, "she caught a phone call. A call from your house. You were little. Maybe 3 or 4 years old. And your voice was recorded in the background." I felt my knees weaken. I gripped the edge of the desk harder. "That's why your voice is in that phone," he said. "Because you were there. You were present in one of the recordings she saved before she vanished. I opened my mouth to speak, but nothing came out. Tears finally streamed down my face. She wasn't calling you Laysla in that video, he added gently. She was talking about telling you the truth someday, about your family, about what she found out. My entire body trembled. What did she find out? I whispered. He hesitated again. And then he said something that shattered everything inside me. She believed someone in your family was involved in her disappearance. My world dimmed. I couldn't breathe. My own family? My own blood? I staggered backward. Daniel tried to reach for me, but I recoiled like his touch burned. You should have told me, I cried. You should have told me everything. I was trying to protect you, he said, tears falling freely now. Your family threatened her. They threatened anyone who got too close. And when I realized who you were, when I recognized your voice the first time I heard you laugh, it was already too late. I'd fallen for you. I didn't know how to explain without losing you. The room felt too small, too dark, too full of lies. I had to get out. I didn't even remember walking out of the building. My legs moved on autopilot. My vision was blurry from tears. I stumbled into my car, gasping, clutching the steering wheel like it was the only solid thing left in my life. A sister I never knew. A disappearance erased from family history. A boyfriend tangled in the truth. A phone filled with evidence. A childhood memory I had been too young to understand. I drove without seeing the road, ended up parked behind a grocery store, crying into my hands as the world collapsed around me. I don't know how long I stayed there. Minutes? Hours? Time had lost meaning. When I finally calmed down enough to breathe, I wiped my face and took out the old phone again. My thumb hovered over the video, the one with my voice, the one with the shadowed girl on the floor, the one that held a truth I wasn't ready for. I hit play. This time I watched more carefully. The woman sobbing wasn't Alina. She was older, her hair streaked with gray, her posture tense. And the girl on the floor, the one whose voice sounded like mine, lifted her head higher. The camera angle sharpened, and I realized something horrifying. It wasn't me. It wasn't Alina. It was a child who looked exactly like me. Or rather, like a younger version of me. My breath froze, because that meant only one thing. There weren't just two of us. There were three. The missing girl wasn't my sister. She was me. And the girl in the video wasn't a ghost from the past. She was the version of me they hid. The version of me I had forgotten. And as my voice echoed again from the device in my trembling hands, I knew with gut-wrenching certainty. Everything I thought I knew about my life. Everything I thought I understood about who I was, everything I believed about my past, was a lie. And for the first time I saw who he really was.